Now, hello, one and all. Welcome to the Galaxy Man Show. I am here with the incredible artist known as. I'll let you introduce yourself and explain a bit about what you do, and then we'll dive right into the questions.
All right. So, hi everyone. I am Cynta. I'm a 22-year-old singer-songwriter from Melbourne. My favorite types of music are indie pop, neo soul, funk, R&B, and yeah, I'm hoping to change the world with my music one day.
So we'll dive right into the questions now, Jacinta. So for my very first question, so you've created like really incredible original songs, and for the first original song that I'm going to name is "Forget You." Like, what was it like coming up with the idea of wanting to create "Forget You," and what's the whole meaning behind this song?
So, forget you. It's an interesting one. I was having a very emotional night. And basically, the song is based on a friend of mine who is very important to me. And I wasn't as important to this person, and I knew because we'd spoken about it. And I just like the idea of me caring more than they did really hurt. So I really just wanted to forget about them. I didn't want to think about them, but that was way too hard for me to do. So I was hoping that they would forget about me because that would be easier and less painful. So I remember having a conversation with him about it and just being very upset. And I went home, I sat at my piano and I was crying. I closed my eyes and I just let my hands play some chords and let some words come out. And I wrote the song really, really quick, probably in like one night. And at the start, I didn't like it. I didn't resonate with it. And then I decided to share it with a few people and they loved it. And I was like, oh, wow. I also shared it with the guy I wrote it about. And I told him, I was like, I wrote this about you, by the way. So yeah, it's just it's yeah, whenever you're in that situation when you care more about someone than they do about you, you just sort of wish that they would forget you because you know that you can't forget them. That was the concept for the song, definitely.
So on to our next question. So you've also created an original song called I Hate Me Too, which was another incredible song of yours. What was it like creating this one, and what's the whole meaning behind this one?
All right, so I'm not going to encourage people to hate on anyone or anything. Hate is a very strong word, as my mum would say. But I was actually 16 when I wrote this song. And at the time, I was suffering very intensely from anxiety and depression. And I just, I hated myself. I looked in the mirror and I was like, she's a mess. You know, she's just like, she's all over the place. And I tried to write the song as if I was observing myself from the outside. So I'm like, oh, if I see her, oh wow, she's got highs, she's got lows, she's messy, and I thought it'd be sort of fun because a lot of people think these things, but they don't actually say it. So a lot of us have these thoughts about ourselves. So I sort of wanted to create a song that has all these thoughts. And although it might sound really bad to say I hate myself, in that moment, I really did not like who I was and how life was for me. And even now, I resonate with the song even more now than when I did back then. So yeah, it's just that's how that one came about.
On to our very next question. So what made you decide as a person and like especially as an artist to get into the whole singing process in the first place?
I've been in music pretty much my whole life. It's just been within me. I started singing lessons when I was 8, and I knew the day that I started that this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And then when I got to age 12, 13, I started to experiment with songwriting because I found it hard to speak up for myself. I had a lot of tough times through my teenage years, and songwriting was a way for me to share my stories and use my voice. And the passion just grew and it grows every single day. And I know the industry is cutthroat, but I'm so determined. And as I say, I feel it in my bones that this is meant for me, this career path. So, yeah.
So on to our very next question. So what does performing music mean to you, like especially as an artist?
when I was younger, I had this idea that you had to be the best singer in the world. You had to be technically perfect. You couldn't make a mistake. And I thought that's what performing was, but I was wrong. And I've learned over the years that performing is so much more than just being a perfect singer. It's being able to connect with people on a deeper level. It's the ability to be vulnerable in front of people that you know and people that you don't know. Just being able to share a story with a stranger and then being able to connect with it, I think is one of the most fascinating things in the world. And yeah, so performing for me and for a lot of artists is just a way to express our emotions and to share our stories, for me, in a very vulnerable and authentic way, and in the hope to make connections, to hear about other people's stories. But yeah, the best would definitely be when I have a gig and I sing one of my songs and I have a random person come up to me like, I really connected with your song. Like that's what I perform for. That's what I make music for. I want people to feel heard.
So that's my very next question. So, like, what has been your all-time like favorite cover to perform and why?
Oh, this is actually a tough one. I've had many over the years that have been favorites. Currently, my favorite to perform is Brainstorm by Alexander 23, who's one of my favorite artists because he's one of the few artists that write songs about mental health. And Brainstorm is pretty much a song about loved ones going through mental health and their loved ones, how they view it and how it's quite, there's a lot of discrepancy and a lot of blurred lines. And so I could really connect with that song. And I think it's a beautiful song. I love it. So that would be my favorite one to perform.
So that's my very next question. So, if you could work with like any top three music artists in the music industry, who would they be and why?
Yeah, this is a really good question, really hard one because there's so many. But number one is I'm her biggest fan, Tori Kelly. I love Tori Kelly. I love her voice. I love her songs. I love everything about her. I think she's amazing. So she would be number one. Number two would be Alexander 23, definitely. I love his songwriting. I get inspired. His songwriting inspires my own. And he's just such an authentic soul in the way that he makes his music and creates it and sings it and performs it. It's so wonderful. And hopefully I can see him live one day. The last person, I'm trying to think of a third person, probably uh, Olivia Rodrigo, only because, again, I feel like we write, like a lot of the songs that she writes, I'm like, oh, I feel like I sort of start to write my songs in a very similar way to her and I have a very similar way of expressing. And she's doing unbelievably well at the moment. She has a real gift. So definitely the songwriters of the industry, 100% those three.
So that's my very next question. So, if you could go anywhere, like take your music anywhere on tour, like any country, where would you want to take your music to and why?
Oh, well, the end goal would be to tour globally and take my music everywhere, which in time I know will happen. But if I had to pick a specific country, probably America. I've always wanted to go to America, and I know there's plenty of states to tour in and to explore. So that would probably be the first place I go. Yeah.
So that's our very next question. So, like, what advice would you give to like upcoming artists like yourself? And yeah, what advice would you give them? And yeah, like to people that want to get into the music industry.
As rough as it sounds, you have to have thick skin because there's just going to be so many no's. There's going to be so many people that are going to tell you to do things a certain way or be a certain person or act a certain way or dress a certain way. And sometimes it's going to be hard to hold to your own. But thick skin is definitely one. Also, as well, if you're passionate enough and you work hard, working hard will beat talent any day, which is a lot of people, are aware of that. Hard work will always beat talent because you really, really have to work hard. And some days I feel like I'm not working hard enough, but I remind myself that something each day is just one step closer. It's just progress. And also just to be true to yourself. I had a stage where I was just listening to what everyone else wanted me to do and singing what everyone else wanted me to sing. And I wasn't really authentically myself. And then when I stopped caring about what other people thought of me and dropped those expectations, I started to grow as not only as a person, but as a musician as well. So yeah, that would be my advice, but also go for it. If you're thinking about it, just do it. There's, you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain.
On to the very next question. So on to that. So what would now Cynta say to younger Cynta? And yeah, what advice would you give to younger Cynta?
Well, interesting you say that, because I actually rebranded to Cynta in September last year. Before Cynta, I was Jacinta Louise. And like in that time, that younger Jacinta Louise, I wish I could tell her that do what you want to do. Don't succumb to the pressures of trying to please everyone, because in reality, you can never please everyone. To really have the confidence in yourself, because, I wish I could tell myself that you are good enough and you do have what it takes. And although there might be a lot of naysayers and people that don't believe in you, or people that think your songs are too explicit in terms of mental health and sadness, ignore those people. They just want to bring you down, and you are so worthy. I wish I could tell myself that I was enough, and that I don't need other people to tell me, how I should be or who I should be, because I was fine just the way I was. Yeah.
So very next question. So what are like the positive and negative sides into creating your own music in the industry? And how do you get through those like negative moments as an artist?
So creating music, there's a lot of positives. I mean, for me, it's just so good to express what's up here into a song. Sometimes I find it hard to find words to explain how I'm battling my mental health, or I'm going through a hard time, or I have a bumpy road with a relationship, platonic or romantic. And creating music is just it's weird, because it just sort of comes to me really naturally in terms of writing lyrics. And I'm a huge empath and a very emotional person, so it's really wonderful to be able just to have the freedom to write, because there's no rules when it comes to writing songs. And more positives would be, I have the best musician friends in the world. They are unbelievably talented, and I have the pleasure of living with two of them. And, I get to collaborate with them and just hear them create music, which I think is wonderful. And there's been more opportunities as well for performances, which is really good, even post-pandemic, because obviously during the pandemic, it was very devastating for us musos. But I've noticed a lot of diversity in the performance range of things, like with Triple J. They're very LGBTQIA plus positive, and they're opening their diversity to a lot of people. But of course, with pros comes cons. The industry is, you're going to get a lot of no's, which is something that I think there was a moment where I was getting more no's than yeses, and it was very disheartening. But I told myself, as long as I believe in me, that's okay. Even now, like, I'm still building myself up, but and I'm very grateful to have gigs, but it's very hard to get people to come to gigs. Ever since after the pandemic, it's really changed, and I find it sometimes disheartening when people don't come to my gigs, and most of the time I don't have anyone come. But yeah, I guess with those negatives, I remind myself that I'm doing what I love, and if other people that I don't even know sitting there can see that, then that's all that matters. And as long as I'm happy and I don't let the negative people in the industry bring me down, then I'm going to be okay. And a big thing as well is the industry is so male dominant, and there's nothing wrong with males. Most of my musician friends are males, but some of them have that hunger to, assert their dominance onto females like myself. And I've worked in environments with very toxic masculine figures, and it's very scary because not a lot of the music industry has a lot of women. So I really hope in the future that can change. That percentage can change. Yes.
So very next question. So, and like, what's next for you, like for the rest of 2022? Like any like upcoming projects that you'd like to announce on the show?
Yeah. So obviously I haven't released any music as Cynta because I've just been embracing the new artistry, finding my fashion, my sound, my music. But I have been speaking to one of my friends from uni in terms of recording something finally. So I'm hoping at some point this year, I'll be able to record a couple of songs, hopefully release a single. I know exactly what I want to do. It's just about organizing and getting it done. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes of even just one song release, which a lot of people don't see. So it's a lot of hard work, but definitely a release is on my list this year for sure. Yes.
Awesome. So, would you like to perform one of your songs on the show, by the way, Cynta?
Yes, sure. I brought my guitar, trusty guitar that I've been trying to learn. It's a hard instrument. I normally play the keys, but it's good to expand. I'll just sing a snippet of one of my songs, I Hate Me Too. I'll just do like a verse and a chorus just to, give a little snippet and keep people wanting more. All right. She is weak like a bladder, but she doesn't really care, 'cause she don't matter. But let's pretend like I know her too, but she's looking at me like strangers do. She's a mood, she's a mess, she's an uninvited guest, she's a joke, she's a pest, she's nothing like the rest, she's a high, she's a low, she's a one-woman show. Oh, I don't wanna be her anymore, I don't wanna see her anymore, I probably wouldn't need her anymore. Trying to convince herself that she's okay, crying like a loser, hope it goes away, standing in the corner, nothing more to say, it's true, I hate me too. La, da, 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 yeah.
Yes,
There we go.
Cynta. Wow. Oh my God, that was awesome.
Thank you.
No, you're very welcome. So, would you like to, do you have like any last final thoughts that you'd like to share to people on the show?
Oh, definitely. If you vibe with me, then head on over to my Insta and connect with me. I love talking to people. I'm very much a people person. I'm hoping that in a year's time things will be a lot different from what they are now. I've really worked on building myself up, and I can't wait to see what the future holds. Can't wait to see how people react to my music. And to any of those musicians out there that are thinking about doing music, honestly, just go for it full speed ahead, and ignore all the naysayers and all the haters, because if you feel like you have something to offer the world, then just give it.